Whether you're just looking to stay warm during a hunt or need maximum concealment, the clothing you wear can make or break a hunt. At MidwayUSA.com, we understand hunting clothing has come a long way with more meticulously crafted camo patterns, advanced scent control technologies, and weatherproof options to withstand the elements. Hunters have to wait until their favorite season, but shouldn't wait on gear, which is why Midway USA offers super fast shipping. When you're ready for your next system, log on to MidwayUSA.com.
Huh.
Watching Kyle's unboxing videos again?
Yeah, he always finds the coolest... No way! A robot dog? Gotta ask where he got it.
Or use your Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Just draw a circle around the dog on your screen, and it shows you where to buy it right in the app.
Whoa, I just learned a new trick. And that for once, I beat Kyle to the next big thing.
Circle it, find it with the new Galaxy S24 Ultra and circle the search with Google. Get yours now at Samsung.com. Internet connection required. Results may vary based on visuals.
Hunting boots are a critical component of any successful hunt. Whether walking a short distance to your blind or trudging miles through rugged terrain, your feet are carrying the load. Without the right boots, you could give up early and lose out on that trophy just over the ridge. At Midway USA, we make selecting boots for your next hunt easier. With just a few clicks of a mouse, you can decide on what's important, like waterproofing, insulation, size, width, and savings. For just about everything for shooting, hunting, and the outdoors, check out MidwayUSA.com.
The Outdoor Drive Podcast.
Hey everybody, I am so excited to be here today.
Are you really though?
Yeah.
That's good.
Bishop told me I need to be more excited and not sound like I'm half asleep when we record. So I'm here ripping Black Rifle coffee out of the can, ready to go, baby.
All right, good. Well, I'm glad to have you, man. It's always good. You know what I'm saying? Hey. And you know what? It's one day closer to turkey season. We're officially probably 4 weeks out, so let's go.
That's right. Opening day of baseball season was today. Yukon Huskies are playing right now, some March Madness. That means it's almost turkey season.
It's almost turkey season. Well, have you been doing any scouting, running around, seeing anything good? What's going on out there, Steve?
We've seen some strutters in some fields. Nowhere near anywhere I can hunt. Well, but no, dude. You know, I just take I drop pins when I'm postseason deer scouting, and I'll revisit them here shortly. But I honestly don't even really think about locating birds till April. So
yeah, I'm the same.
Next week I'll start gearing up and taking some rides and trying to roost some birds or whatever. But
it's funny is I had some trail cameras soaking.
Big soaker.
Yeah, and they got some intel, so that's good, you know. Well, actually, what happened? They were my dad's trail cameras that I put up for my dad, and then they keep going off with turkeys on them. So I'm like, called the old man and said, "Hey, you know,
so your
turkeys
dad's running trail cameras for you."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep. Oh, I showed him how to use them. So does that count for something?
Yeah, his are more reliable.
Yeah, well, because his had batteries in them. It's probably the best thing that Spy Point's ever done for me. I gave it to him because it was shit, and then this is what it does for me. It got
put in work.
Yeah, that's right. So, no, I think it's cool, man. I've been messing around. I got a trumpet call now, so I'm kind of excited that from. Yeah, Carl's Custom Calls or Hunter's Mountain Calls. I'm excited. We were at the Mohegan Sun Show, and it was a good time. It was a good weekend. We had a fun time.
Yeah. How do you not get fired up for turkey season when you spend 3 days with the turkey himself, Matt Wittes?
Yeah, so true.
He walks like a turkey, he talks like a turkey. It just puts you in the mood for turkey season.
Yeah, congratulations to him. He got nominated into the NWTF Hall of Fame. So, super excited for that.
Sorry.
I got a little ahead of myself there, but yeah, it's all good.
All right, let's get to sponsors.
All right, let's get to the sponsors. Huntworth, we are the official camo of the Outdoor Drive podcast is Huntworth, huntworthgear.com. Go and check those guys out. You guys missed out on a wonderful sale that ended 2 days ago, so you guys missed out on that. But keep tuned for some new stuff. I'm excited to put on my Durham pants and my Shelton hoodie and kill some gobblers. Latitude Outdoors, latitudeoutdoors.com. Some good stuff going on over there. Guys, time to start building your climb and getting ready for the deer season. They got some real good products for you guys that are wanting to get into saddle hunting. Now's the time to start practicing, as we always say. And there'll be some new lines of stuff, so make sure to go and check those guys out. Nor'easter game calls, get them in close. Some really good turkey calls, mouth calls, all of those needs. You guys are running a little bit late, but now's the time. You're a month out from season here in the Northeast. Now's the time to get your turkey calls, pot calls, thin series, mouth calls, so on and so forth.
Mother clucker.
The little mother clucker. And last but not least, Saddies. Saddies Ammunition. Guys, if you guys are looking to run TSS, now's the time to get a hold of Aaron Satterfield on Facebook or Instagram. Saddies Ammunition LLC. I know he's been kind of crazy on the bench, but now's the time to kind of check him out. You want to stop the flop, get yourself some Saddies. If the Saddies are flying, the turkeys are dying. So go and check those guys out. We'll post a link below. You guys can go and check those out. All the links will be there. So we appreciate that. Anything else? Any good news? Anything else going on in Congress? Anything going on in the House?
London Bridge is falling down.
Mm.
Or Maryland or Baltimore or something like that. But other than that, no. Things flowing good in my world.
I don't think it's going to affect my turkey season, so I really don't
know.
care.
I might have some Amazon packages on that boat, though.
Is that what they're saying? There's Amazon packages on it?
I don't know. Maybe.
They were saying it was ISIS.
Nah, Biden.
It was Biden. Biden was driving it. What do you mean, dude?
What the hell are you talking about?
Congratulations to all you guys down south. Mississippi is open. I saw some real good dude. Jacob Emery was down there hunting. Josh.
My man Jackson Higgins.
Shot
during Georgia youth season.
Yep. Josh Stubbs, he shot a Osceola. Seen a couple of good Osceolas down there. Guys are getting after it, doing their thing. So congratulations to you guys. I'm a little jealous. We should be turkey hunting already in the southern state, but we're not. We're still stuck here chasing crazy Easterns. And actually, this podcast is with Steven Champa. Steven Champa just got back from Osceola land himself. We actually didn't really talk about that all that much. We got too dived into beaver trapping and whatever else that we kind of went off the rails, talking about the Northeast here, chasing turkeys. Probably let out a little bit too much information. If it's not posted, you can hunt it. Well, posted properly, as our boy Seth Edwards would say. You know, it's got to be properly posted. So, but yeah, let's break through the bullshit and let's get Steve Champa. All right, guys, welcome back to the Outdoor Drive. There's probably nobody on here. We are live on Facebook and Instagram. We are joined with Steven Champa. How are you, buddy?
Doing great, buddy. How are you?
Good, man. We really appreciate you jumping on with us and doing this podcast, getting ready for turkey season, dude. Absolutely. I am pumped up.
Me too, man. Me too.
It's definitely a great thing. I don't know. Yeah. It's like a kid in the candy store this time of year, dude. Like getting ready for
sure.
turkey. Yeah.
Seeing some toms strutting around locally, it gets your trigger finger a little.
Oh, it's incredible, especially with just. Deer season pumps you up one way, but turkey season pumps you up in a whole different way. That's like it's untalked about, honestly.
Because they communicate. Deer. Yeah, we get you sometimes get an encounter where you get a buck grunting back at you or grunting into you, but turkeys, you know where they're at the whole time, and they let you know. And when you can call them in, that's what just makes it that much more fun.
And it's kind of crazy. Like turkey hunting is one of those things where. The guys who are diehard turkey hunters, it's a different breed of human being. Like in the aspect of like everyone goes, oh well, it's not that big of a deal. Like if my neighbor shoots, my tom or whatever, like it's all camaraderie. I'm gonna let you know, I might kill you for shooting my Tom that in the neighbor's park. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. The good news is you can drive a half mile down the road and find another one.
Another one.
Yeah.
It is.
The other thing, though, is like deer season is like a trickle, right? Like early season, it's like okay, and then you like pre-rut, and then mid-November it's fire, and then it trickles out. Turkey
Right.
season opens up, and it's like it's top notch, like day one, you know.
From start to finish, it's good the whole time, unless you get rainy days or bad weather days.
Yeah. But it's like if open the first day you could deer hunt was like November 15th,
Right.
just thrown right into the fire.
Right. Yeah. Where turkey season, it's steady pace across the board.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, why don't we jump right into it, man? We'll put this thing right in 4-wheel drive. Why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about what you do?
Cool. So my name's Steve Champa. I am from Southern New Hampshire. I've lived here pretty much my whole life. I didn't really grow up hunting that much. My dad and uncles, they would, we'd go up to Maine to our camp every once in a while, and we'd, every couple of years we'd take the deer rifles for a walk, never shoot anything. And then when I was like 16, 14, I was like, I really like this. I don't want to go just once a year. I want to do this a lot more. So I used to, drag, excuse me. I used to drag my dad out, and he would go more or less just to accompany me because he had to, because I was under the age of hunting by myself. And then once I could drive and had a vehicle, I was gone with the wind. I never stopped. Haven't looked back since. Don't ever plan on looking back either. But I mostly deer hunted when I was younger. Turkey's always interested me, but everyone always made it seem like there was all these special rules and regulations. And then when I found out how simple and easy it was, I was like, all right, I can do this. And I really got into turkey hunting when I want to say actually, I shot my first turkey on senior skip day in high school, which is pretty cool. Me and my best friend, we skipped school and we shot our first birds together in New Hampshire. And then I was like, I want to do this more. So then I started hunting Massachusetts because I'm an eighth of a mile from Massachusetts. I literally can be there in 3 seconds by foot. Started hunting Mass, and then I was like, all right, I still want more. So then I started hunting Maine, and then I started going to Vermont, and New York, and Rhode Island, and now this year I'm really trying to travel and expand even more and see more of the country. I'm planning on hunting Connecticut and Pennsylvania this year, which I'm really excited about. Just see some new turf and try to kill some turkeys in some different states. Give it a little bit more of a challenge because, as I'm sure you guys know, like when you hunt your home state, it's your playground. It's like it's nothing for me to. If somebody needs to kill a turkey, we can go to 3 or 4 spots and we're gonna hear birds gobble on every single one of them, and we're probably gonna kill on one of the first 3 or 4 groups we run into. You just gotta find that right one that's by himself, or one that wants to play. But
I'd beg to differ. I'd beg to differ. We live in Connecticut. Really? Yeah. So the thing with Connecticut, like obviously we have our spots, right? But like one of the things about it is that they've come up with this whole five bird thing, and we talk about it all. And I beat it like a dead horse, but like it's really it's taken a toll on our population where it's made things a lot harder. Like it's not what it was or it used to be, right?
Right. Well, I mean, you get guys like all of us that live the turkey hunt. And if that's my home state, I'm gonna do my best to fulfill all 5 of those. And I guess that's a little selfish from a sportsman standpoint, but in the same breath, it's what I love to do. And if I can keep going and keep hunting, I'm going to. So I would be hard pressed not to shoot my 5 birds every year down there if I lived down there.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
I'm that guy, dude. Like
you don't need to apologize at all. I would do the same thing.
I try my hardest, but the thing is, you try to do it on, I guess, my own scale of conservation, right? Where like we work 1 block of timber, we kill a bird in there, and then I vouch to not go back in that block of timber within a couple of miles, and then I'll go. You know what I'm saying? Because like you don't want to kill all those birds in that one area, but like. It's the same thing as if guys go, oh, don't overcall turkeys, right? If that thing's going to gobble, I'm going to make it gobble, and then I'm going to kill it, right? So it's the same thing. Like, if I can kill 5, I'm going to kill 5. But, like, it just makes it tougher. It just makes it tougher.
If you go to one farm and there's 5 longbeards there and you kill all 5 of them, that's a different story because then you're leaving no seed for next year,
Right.
or no breeding stock. But
Yep.
I mean, you'll have the Jakes that will come in and they'll be your Longbeards next year. But it's good to leave a couple. You know, you can shoot a lot of those 3/4 inch spur birds, and they fire me up just as much. But when you get a nice 3-year-old with nice inch and an eighth hooks, those get me real fired up.
So are you trying to accomplish the whole 49 thing, or are you
Yeah,
just okay?
yeah, and I'm in no rush to do it. Like, there's some people that are like, they got to do it now. I got to knock off 15 states this year. That's not me. I work a blue collar job. I'm a trash guy. I just, I can't afford to travel to 15 states in a year. I can afford to do, hunt the normal stuff that I do and go on a trip or two or even three a year. And I'm just gonna do it at my own pace. And I'm kind of, what I did is I knocked out. I obviously, because I've hunted New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, New York. I've started there and I'm going to start working my way south. And I did Florida this year. So I'm kind of, my plan is to work everything in between the Mississippi or east of the Mississippi. I've got West Virginia already, but I'll have to get, Kentucky, Tennessee, Jersey, Maryland, Delaware. I almost killed one in North Carolina. It was 3 steps and he was dead. Never hunted South Carolina, Georgia, Bama, Mississippi, Louisiana, all that stuff. I'm gonna pretty much just work my way south as I go, and every year try to knock out an early season bird to kind of take the edge off of
Right.
hunting around here. And I probably won't kill as many turkeys if I do that, which I'm fine with, but it's more about the experience and going and seeing places and being places I've never been before. I think that's the aspect I'm looking forward to the most, is just seeing the country while hunting, because
Hmm.
you get to travel and you get to do what you love.
Oh, absolutely, and be
Yeah.
able to like kind of like you said, just take your time, enjoy it. You get
Right.
to just the I guess the purest side of it, like just take it all in, and it is what
Right.
it is. Because if you're rushing, like you see a lot of these guys, they're like, oh, especially in New England states, they'll try and knock out 4 or 5 of the states in 4 or 5 days. But like, what is the
Right.
enjoyment in that? Like you're not taking in the whole hunt.
No, it's just kill, go to the next state, kill, go to the next state, and don't get me wrong, I've done that before between New Hampshire and Maine and Mass and New Hampshire. If I still have a tag and I kill a bird early, I've done that. But this is my home turf too. If I go to Nebraska, I'm not gonna jump in the car as soon as I kill one and fly and run to Kansas or whatever. But like you said, you get to take in a lot more, enjoy it, and if I got youth on my side too, I'm 28 years old, so
Right.
it's not like I got to rush to do it. I can I can take my time, but
So
which I'm looking forward to.
So I'll go back just a tad bit, and you had talked
Yep,
about, like senior year and learning how to turkey hunt. Were you just
yep.
self-taught, or like how did you go about learning and understanding what turkey hunting was all about?
So somewhat, for probably my first 2 years turkey hunting, I was self-taught and a lot of trial and error, as we've all been through with turkey hunting. Um, I missed. I would set up too close to the roost, or there's a million different things that you can do wrong turkey hunting. But I was self taught like my first 2 years, and then I started hunting with my neighbors growing up. And one of my neighbor's cousins was a pretty diehard turkey hunter. He started hunting New England when they first introduced turkeys, and
Mm-hmm.
when the 80s when they first started having turkey seasons, and there was, I think he said there was either like 60 birds killed a year or 40 or 90. It was under 100 birds killed a year, and like they used to put it in the newspaper who killed turkeys because it was such an accomplishment. So I learned a lot from him. His name's Gary. He took me under his wing, and you know, I learned a lot from him. And then uh, even from there, I just kept forwarding my knowledge. Just kept going forward with my knowledge and learning and expanding and taking in stuff from different people and ideas. And we all have YouTube today. Everyone watches YouTube. Every time I watch a YouTube video, oh, okay, that's where and I play back a hunt in my own head. Oh, that's where I messed up, or that's something I could have done different to better that hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of that, but there was a lot of trial and error, a lot of mistakes, a lot of stuff that I look back on and laugh a lot at. Um, but yeah, so it was a mix of self taught, and then as I started to get the grasp of it, I got knowledge from a very seasoned turkey hunter. So it compiled into what it is now.
And I guess the good thing is that with turkey hunting, like, you can fail a million and one times, like we were talking about before, and just roll down the
Right.
road and try again. Like, it
Yep.
is what it is.
Yep.
It's not like a big buck where he's got you, or you boogered him up and he moved out. Like, you go back 2 days
Right.
later, you get that thing back gobbling, and he's back in your lap in no time, and
Right.
then you can fail
Yeah.
again. You know?
Right. I had that happen in New Hampshire 2 years ago. Me and my buddy Brett were trying to film something, and he's like, "Just save a tag. We'll go later in the season." And I ended up missing a bird in one spot, like I don't know, first couple days of the season, and finally the weather was looking junk, and our schedules weren't lining up. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go see if that bird's in there. I went back in that same spot, hooted. He was in the same tree, and there's like one knob right next to the edge of the swamp where they pitched down to. And I was like, I know what this thing's gonna do. I got in there in the morning. He pitched down to 10 yards. He went behind a pine tree, swung my gun, and I shot him at like 8 yards. It was like, and the funny part was is I thought I hit him the first time I shot at him. So I don't usually shoot at him in the air, but if I'm like, oh, I peppered that thing, I'm gonna shoot at him in the air. You know, it's the ethical thing to
Right,
do.
for sure.
So some people frown upon it, and some people would probably criticize it, but whatever.
Hey, when you're a wing
Ah.
shooter, you shoot them when they're flying, anyways,
Well,
right?
that's
I mean,
it.
hey,
I'm a duck hunter, a
yes,
waterfowl hunter. I sometimes I just can't hold back. But
yep.
the funny part is when I shot that bird or shot at him the second time. I shot him at 8 yards, and his body was behind a tree, and it was just his head sticking out behind a pine tree. And I shot him, and there was the whole pattern hit him in the head. But when I was cleaning him, he actually had one number 9 TSS pellet in his butt. So I was like, I knew it was the same bird. There was no doubt about it. It was unmistakable, unless someone else happened to shoot him with number 9 TSS. But it's pretty unlikely roosted in the same tree, pitched down to the same knob. It's got to be probably the same bird. But like you said, you can go in. If you mess up, you go down the road, you find another bird.
Or you get on him in a couple of days because he's going to do
Yeah,
the same
exactly.
thing. You know,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
hunting in New England, and especially northern New England, like the areas where you are, where no permission is needed, where you can, not posted, you can hunt it. Like, does
Right.
it make it a lot easier to be able to go in and chase after these birds?
It does, especially in Maine. I would say in Maine mostly because there's just so much ground. Like southern
Mm-hmm.
New Hampshire is pretty developed and it's pretty suburban. Um, so it's really about knowing the lay of the land around here. Like if I've had friends come in from out of state to turkey hunt, and they're like, "Where are the turkeys even around here?" And it's like, okay, you got to get into this pocket from this power line or from this pull off, or it's a lot of stuff like that. But I would say, Maine and Massachusetts are really great for that because you can just if you see a bird crossing a cow pasture, if you see it crossing a road, you can drive up the road. Okay, where can we park? Okay, we'll park here. Not posted, go in, and we'll yelp at them and try to call them to where we are or whatever.
So one of the things that we had seen with Maine is like, so we hunted southern Maine, like the Bangor
Yep.
area, and one of the things
Yep.
that we found with that is like the non-posted land is like public land. Like
Yeah.
it seems as if like everybody hunts the same farms and does the
Yep.
same things. Like,
We have a lot of that around here too. But southern Maine is more developed, and so is North Shore Massachusetts and southern New Hampshire. So I'm kind of like I'm always in that game, no matter where I go between Mass, New Hampshire, and Maine. But there is some stuff like over towards where I grew up where I can get away from people, and you walk in a mile into the woods and you've lost every turkey hunter there is. Only the purist or the diehards are going to take that walk. But that turkey is easier to kill than that one that's on the roadside in the field that everyone sees every day. That one that's a mile into the woods. Sometimes you only have to yelp at those birds once, and they're coming looking for you. Where that field bird is just going to sit there and strut and spin in circles all day long.
yeah, and that's one of the things that like those birds that are that deep public land where we have the same thing here. Like you have your urban areas, the shoreline and stuff like that, and then you start to get up towards that Massachusetts area, and those birds you start getting deep down in public, man. And that he might be a 3-4 year old, he might be a little bit tougher, but I'll tell you what, he still comes in gobbling. You can kill him, and you don't have to worry about him. Like those ones that are by the street. And everybody's called at him. He's heard every turkey noise from every wannabe turkey hunter within 100 miles. Like
everybody's roosted them every night.
Yeah. Everybody stops their truck there and owl hoots every night.
You can hear
Yeah.
him from the parking lot. Everybody else is heard him from the same parking
Yeah,
lot.
exactly. Oh, I'm the only one that knows about this turkey. No, you're not.
No, you're not. No, no. Anybody who likes
Yeah,
to hear a turkey gobble is gonna make them gobble. It's just the way it goes, right?
yeah.
The one-
The stuff that's around me, I've had a lot of times where like I've roosted birds or like opening day, you go in there and you think you're alone, and then all of a sudden you can hear somebody crunching up behind you in the dark. Like I had that happen. Me and my buddy Lucas were hunting together like 3 or 4 years ago, opening day, and we still killed two birds in that piece. But it was someone I knew ended up this. Well, I didn't see your truck. Well, I told you it was somebody I knew, and I told them I was going there, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't see your truck," so I went in there and he ended up actually the birds pitched down below us and then he busted them up and they came up to us and it worked out. You know, it was kind of a blessing in disguise, but it we definitely run into that around here too. It's the inevitable no matter where you go. Like you said, those visible birds are. You try. I always try to kill those birds opening day because that's your best
Yeah,
chance at them.
right.
Right.
Those are my opening day birds. The public visible birds are the ones that I always try and knock out of the park first, and then I'll go to if I have permission somewhere or private or something that's more secluded. That's usually my
Right.
mid season, late season tactic.
What?
You know you're in a bad spot when you're working a bird and you want him to stop gobbling because every
Yeah,
time he gobbles, there's more of a chance to call in more hunters. And
right,
you're
right.
hurry up and get over here and stop talking because
Yeah, yeah. Just come running in,
nobody
please.
else is hearing you gobble at me. So
Yeah, yeah,
quick.
yeah.
One of the things that I do to kind of stop that is I take out a lot of youth hunters. So I'll bring
Yeah.
them into the most known spot that I know where there's a ton of turkeys and I know there's
Yeah.
going to be a ton of turkey hunters. And
On
I just,
opening day.
we go in there and
I do
just
the same. I do
cream
the
on
same
them.
thing. I do the same thing, and and it's not to purposely be spiteful or but if they're gonna get shot up by guys that have killed 50 turkeys in their life, or you're gonna get a kid their first turkey, I'm gonna take a kid in there and they're gonna get their first bird or their second bird, or just make the memories for them, or get them intrigued, or interested in the outdoors and hunting and be good advocates when we're no longer here.
Yeah. It's super
So
important because those kids, and turkey hunting is one of those things for the youth that like you can change a kid's life. Like, like us, like uh, myself, story very similar to yours, honestly, Stephen, where my family deer hunted a ton. We did a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but not. I mean, we turkey hunted. Like my pops brought me up to Maine and stuff, and that's where I learned how to turkey hunt was through,
yeah,
one of those, an outfitter we paid and whatever, and that's
yeah,
how we learned. It wasn't much turkey hunting here, but I didn't really get to turkey hunt a ton. So like to give it back to those kids where they get to
oh
be able to
yeah,
go with somebody who kind of has like a clue what's going on, it's
right.
kind of fun and you could change those kids' lives, like truly change their lives.
Yeah, you can take a kid that has a rough home life or just has no interest in the outdoors, and you can just ignite that fire like it did for guys like you and I,
Hmm.
which is crucial. It happens a lot. Like my youngest brother, he never had any interest in turkey hunting. In New Hampshire, you cap out at 16 years old. Once you're 16, you can't youth hunt. And he was like a month away from turning 16. I'm like, you want to go out for youth day? And he's like, yeah, I guess. And I was like, awesome because I was so excited because none of my I'm the only serious hunter pretty much in my whole family. My uncle hunts too. He hunts a good amount, but like none of my brothers or my dad really took to it. So um, when my brother wanted to go, it meant the world to me. So we went out opening day of youth season, and we got boogered up by other guys that had the same plan we did. They went to the very visible, known birds, and they ended up shooting at him before we did. But we left there, and he killed two birds in an hour after that, and he was shaking so bad when those birds came in. He was all fired up, and it was weird because he loved it in the moment. I mean. And he smoked both birds he shot. He made great shots on them, and he did really good, but it never stuck with him. He in the moment, I would have sworn he was going to be a turkey killer right then and there, but it never stuck, unfortunately. But he had a good, the only hunt he's ever been on. He had a great hunt.
What do you think your favorite state that you've hunted thus far is?
Maine,
Really?
yeah, Maine. I like Maine just because you can hunt all day. You can kill your two birds at once. New Hampshire, you have to register a bird after you shoot your first one. So like if you have three longbeards come in, you shoot one, you're gonna booger all three of them up if they come in, and you got to run over there, grab your bird, weigh it, get the spur length, beard length, and then you got to put your license information in. It's not like it's a quick process. It takes 5 minutes to do it. Where Maine and Massachusetts, you can go. and you can shoot your two birds at once. But the plus side to Maine is it goes into June, which is nice,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a longer season. You can shoot your two birds at once, and there's more woods. And I think there's I don't want to say there's less turkey hunters in Maine. I think there's a lot more traveling turkey hunters that go to Maine. But I think I just like the all day thing because I've killed birds at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I've killed them at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I've killed them at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. It's just if you can find the right bird in the right situation, you can kill them later in the day. And I've done it 5 times, 4 or 5 times in Maine. So I would say that's probably been my favorite thus far. I liked New York too. That we hunted some bigger public out there. We were in the Adirondacks when we went out there, and we had a lot. There's a ton of land out there. There's more land than you can even see in a daytime. Um, but that was a lot of like trying to strike from the road and stuff like that. It wasn't as much of smaller blocks where you can call on both sides of the block. If there's a bird in the block, you're going to hear it. You were, walking in and you're trying to strike from the road. But those turkeys did it good. If you got them to gobble, they were coming. But I like that too. I like turkeys that are interactive. I don't like when you're hunting turkeys like deer. I want I want a good gobbling turkey that's going to come in and give you a good show because that's what we all live for. We all live for that thrill of the next gobble and that bird that just comes in and does it right. When you're sitting there in the hardwoods and you're just waiting to see that red head just poke up, that's the best in my opinion.
I'd have to agree with that because, like,
Yeah.
and we say it all the time. Like, I'll never shoot a silent bird. It won't happen. Like, it's not that I wouldn't, but I'm just saying is
Right.
it won't happen because if it's not gobbling, I'm not
I'm
staying
not.
there. I'm not
I'm
sitting.
the
I'm
same
not.
way. On to the next one.
Yep.
Yeah. If this one wants to be, if he wants to be tight-lipped and gobbled just once every, 20 minutes on his own or because the crow caws or whatever it may be, I'm not wasting my time with you. I'm gonna go drive down the road and find a 2-year-old that wants to do it. I don't discriminate. It has a full fan, it's dying.
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm not gonna say, well, that's the one I've been after. If it's a long beard, it's gonna get it.
It's honestly one of those like roll up into a piece of land. Nothing. Nothing. And I'm out. It's done. It's over.
Yeah.
It's
It's
on to
that
the
it's
next
that
piece,
simple.
dude. I'm over
Yeah.
it.
And that goes back to having the access to land like we do in northern New England is we can go just if there's not a yellow sign, it is fair game to walk in there and yelp them up and try to get something to gobble.
And so with that, like you literally just bounce around, running around from piece to piece to piece, just looking for
My
something.
my truck is my best friend come turkey season. I cover because that's the best way to cover the most ground.
Hmm.
You might burn a half a tank of fuel in a day, but you're gonna kill a bird by the end of the day. There's very seldom days where if I go turkey hunting, we don't get into them, and not to be like, cocky or anything like that. It's just once you develop a
Mm.
successful, rhythm, it's hard not to.
Right.
I think the key there is just on to the next spot, on to the next
Yep.
spot. You just got to stay persistent, and you'll find it might, like you said before, it might take you till noon, 1 o'clock.
Right.
You strike one at 1 o'clock, he's probably going to die.
Yeah, he's probably gonna die. Yeah,
And I,
from 10 o'clock to 1 in the afternoon. If you get one to gobble, he's coming. He's coming. Very rarely does it not.
but I wonder how many guys are out there, and I don't know if it's a lack of ambition or not being persistent, but they get that 9 o'clock lull, and they pack it up and go to breakfast, and they're tired because turkey
It's a
mornings
grind.
they're
It's a
early
grind.
mornings, right? And the parking lots are empty at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock,
Right.
and that's when I do my best work. Like
Right.
when you can get into those spots and nobody's around, you can work those birds without anybody interfering, and have some fun.
If you want to be a diehard turkey hunter, you better just forget about sleep in the spring because you're out there till 8 o'clock at night roosting birds 8:30, and then you're coming back and waking up at 3:30 in the morning to get right back after them. And a lot of people, by like you said, by that 8 o'clock 9 o'clock hour, I'm too tired. I'm going home to take a nap. Where I'm not quitting until I can't. If it's a noontime state, I'm not quitting till 12 o'clock. And if it's on a hunt all day state, I'm going right until I can't anymore. I'm gonna be smoked by the end of the day, but I'm gonna do it.
Hmm.
And I'm sure you guys are the same way.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. One of the things I guess, and I will say this is one of the things that I've definitely caught out of my turkey season is that nighttime roosting, where
Yeah.
I'm not spending as much time. I might be running the roads at night trying to
Yeah.
figure out, if I see them in a block or whatever. But I used to be like super into trying to find them at night, owl calling, trying to put them to bed, whatever.
Yeah.
Unless it's a specific bird to know that he's in that block of timber that I'm trying to go to in the morning,
Yeah.
I'll go in there and owl hoot. But for the most part, I'll just get up in the morning and get in there and see if he's there, and then just continually running because 9 times out of 10, and especially going back with what we were saying before, like with everybody calling at these birds and stuff, it seems as if a lot of these birds, they're not really gobbling as much. Like it's like a 50-50 shot on the roost at night, where they're just not.
If you get one by themselves, though, they gobble good on the
Oh,
limb.
for sure.
Like there was one time last year. I mean, I could have slammed my car door. I could have just sneezed and he would have gobbled. He was
Hmm.
just, I'm over here. He wanted to let the world know. And but I don't. I'll roost birds like if I know I'm taking someone out or if I know like it's opening day, I'm gonna go roost birds.
Of
But
course.
to just do it every night just to go find where turkeys are, I'm not doing it. But
No.
if someone's driving from Connecticut to come up here and turkey hunt or New York or Maine, I'm gonna do my best effort to try to get them in the game first thing in the morning. But and if I have a tag in my pocket, I'll probably roost. But other than that, it's not as often as when there's not people in town,
Y-
you know?
So that was me, like with like youth or whatever. Like I'll go in there, see if I can get him a gobble. But even if he
Yeah.
doesn't gobble, I'm still going in that block of timber. But I was just trying to figure out where he was and what tree he was in to try and move in on him or whatever. But
Right.
like, I just sometimes, it's funny. We have a really good buddy of ours, Matt Weddish, who we actually do seminars and stuff with, and he was the one that was like, "Dude, you roost at night. Why are you wasting your time? Like that's the craziest thing." And then he tells this story about how he was public land hunting in New York, and he had seen a ton of birds going up into a roost, up into a roost, up into a roost, and he went in there and he sat in there, and the guy comes down in his truck. Nothing. Like 3 trucks come by, and finally on the third truck, they still didn't make no noise. And he saw the
No
birds
kidding.
were up in there. He went up in
Right.
there the next morning, called them out of the roost, and shot the bird. And it just
No kidding.
opened up my eyes to how ineffective it is, and especially by us. Like if you think about it, there's a ton of dirt roads that people do it, and I'm that guy. Like I was that guy. Like I'd run 100 miles of dirt roads and then have nothing. You know what I'm saying? And then I would skip that spot, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And then you go back on it, and sure than shit, there's birds
Right.
in there.
First thing in the
Like
morning, they're gobbling in there. And
yes.
I think you definitely see that more with pressured turkeys too.
Hmm.
Like the ones that, like you said, have 3 trucks pull up to them at night and get owl hooted at those. They're going to learn the game really fast. Earlier season or less pressure, it's definitely they're more susceptible to gobble.
For sure.
I'm a not like if I do roost a bird, this is like it's the polar opposite of what you just said. But if I'm going out because it's opening day or whatever, like I will literally like creep through the woods at last light with binoculars, and I'll be like, okay, he's on that limb, and I'm gonna be 60 yards away in that blowdown right there in the morning. And when he pitches down onto the side hill, he's gonna get shot. That's just when I roost, I try to get it. I try to know exactly where they are, unless it's like wide open hardwoods or a field. But if it's like a bird that is in some woods, I'll do my best to be right in the game. A lot of people tell me I get too like one of my buddies, Andrew Noble. He always tells me I get too close to turkeys. He's always like, "You got Champa close this morning, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I'll be like 50 yards from a bird, and as long as you don't move, it does no harm. But I mean, if you go in there 10 minutes before fly down and you try to get 50 yards from a turkey, they're just gonna fly off. But if I'm going in for a roost hunt where I know the birds are roosted, I'm getting an hour early and I'm going to be
Mm.
50, 60 yards from pretty much if they touch down anywhere inside of the tree that they're roosted in, they die.
So what do you? So on a percentage based, like, what is the percentage of you killing them right off the limb in that scenario?
Again, not trying to be cocky or anything, but my
No, no,
roost hunts
no.
are I'm gonna say 85, 90%. My
Okay.
roost hunts are very high success rate. Like, because it's also part of my schedule at work too. When I hunt New Hampshire and Massachusetts, those are the two closest states. I work right on the border as well. I'm a mile from Massachusetts where I work. So I have to be to work at 6:45. So I get an hour before work if I still have a tag in my pocket. So I've just developed a really good system that works for me for roost hunts is getting close. And if it's a woods bird, if it's a field bird, it's a different story. But if it's a woods bird, I'm getting close to him and I'm hoping that he pitches just, when they just dump out of the tree and just flap their wings. And that's usually what I try to do is just be really tight to their roost. But my percentage is really high with roost hunts.
On those hunts, on most of those, are you familiar with the exact area they're in? Like, do you know there's like a flat there or some kind of knob with like prior knowledge?
Yeah, because usually, like I said, I'll go in there and I'll be in there with binos. If I still have a tag in my pocket, I'm going in there. Okay, he's in that tree, and I'll look topography wise. There's been times where I've had to look at maps on my phone because
Yeah.
I've never hunted the woods, or I've been in there once or whatever the situation may be, and I'll be like, oh, okay, he's roosted right there, and there's a knob right there, and that bird that I was telling you about that I shot at 8 yards and I missed him earlier, or I didn't miss him, but I hit him with one pellet in the butt. He I had never turkey hunted there. I deer hunted there, but there was a couple knobs right there. But then once I looked at it on the map, I'm like, oh, he's gonna pitch right to that knob right there. So I've definitely used technology to help me with that. But a lot of times I do know the layout because I'm in there 100 yards from the
Mm-hmm.
bird. I try to keep a buffer in between him and I, whether it be briars or whether it be a swamp or whether it be a hedgerow or whether it be a roll in the terrain, whatever it may be. So a lot of times I already have my mind made up, where I'm going to be before I even get in there in the morning. I know I'm going to be right at that, somewhere on that knob. I'm going to find the biggest pine tree because I'm a big dude and I'm just going to tuck right into it. So that's usually my game plan for roost hunts.
And I guess that's one of the nice things about turkey hunting is where all three of us could do something different and still be successful. Like you
Oh,
said,
absolutely.
getting in tight to them on the roost. Like some guys are afraid to do it, man. Like they don't want to get too tight in on them. They'll wait, they'll let them come down, do their thing, and then try and call them back on that 10-2. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's one of those things where I get a little sketchy. I don't want to get too close to him. I want to try and call him out to me. It's like, do you want to call him out to you? You want to kill him? Like, what do you want to do on it? It's
It it depends where I am too. Like, because I tried to get super close to a bird in Maryland that I kind of roosted them the night before, but I was in such big territory. There was like lines of ridges, and I knew what ridge he was on. I just didn't know exactly where. And I went in there like right after when he first gobbled, and I tried, you know, getting within 100 yards of him, and it's wide open hardwoods there. And that bird just shut up, and he never. I don't know if he flew off or either just flew down or stayed in the tree. I don't know what he did, but I was like, okay, when I hunt states with big open hardwoods, don't do that. But when you hunt around New England, I mean, we have a heavy canopy and we have a lot of, low growth in our browse line. We don't have browse lines like other states where the deer chew everything that's 5 feet and under.
mm-hmm.
We have a lot of under canopy that we can use to our advantage and get from my perspective.
At Midway USA, we know the AR-15 is one of the most popular rifles in modern American history. Known for its modularity and widespread use, it's often considered essential to any gun collection. The essential things you need to run an AR-15 are usually always in stock during shortages, things like magazines and 5.56 ammo. Whether you're looking to buy a new AR-15 or buy parts for your modern sporting rifle, log on and for just about everything for the outdoors, shop MidwayUSA.com.
I can get really close to turkeys and be lethal about it.
Maryland's one of those states, man. It strikes a chord with me when you say Maryland because Maryland is a tough state to hunt. When it comes to turkeys, dude, with it being it's so wide open and it's not, and I'm going to say this, but it could relate to northern New England too, where Maryland is one of those states where I hunt. I hunt at Eastern Shore, and it's all pine plantations. So you can see 4 miles straight, and it's all wide open. And like, dude, you start working a bird, and like, there's no terrain, there's no topography to be able to work or move on a bird. Like, you literally are just in that spot, and they can see a mile away. And I had a tough time hunting down there because I'm so used to it.
That's when decoys are your best friends, though, because I almost unless I'm hunting a field, I almost never run a decoy. Like very, very seldom. But and I'm not criticizing people that use decoys. I'm not, they have their place 1,000%. But like in the bigger, more exposed stuff, if a turkey flies down, he hears you yelping and he's looking over there and he doesn't see anything. He's just not gonna, he's not gonna do it. But if you have a decoy there, he's gonna be, oh, there she is.
See, I have mixed reviews on a decoy, right? So I probably hunt a decoy 1 out of 10 hunts, right? Or 1 out of 15 hunts. Very
Right.
seldomly like yourself, just very seldom, very picky and choosy where I put a decoy. And because the decoy can be your best friend or it can be your worst nightmare, where a
Right.
bird can come in and it'll see it and lock up, and it just wants
80
to
yards
strut.
away.
Yeah, he wants
Yeah.
to strut and him because like we all know we're going against nature's effect of that
Right.
the hen's supposed to go to the tom, so they'll
Correct.
lock up, or in that case also where that tom sees him and he's gotten his ass kicked and he's gonna tuck his tail and go the other way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like it's a fine line. I would rather have that bird hunt me to try and find it. He knows where I am, and if he doesn't see anything, he's just going to keep coming to try and see it more. That's my envision on it.
Right.
Or having a more docile, more subordinate type
Approach
of
at it.
decoy. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's just I don't know. Decoys can be your best friend and they can be your worst nightmare all in the same sentence. Like
Right. When you
it's
have topography, you're better off without it because half the time they're not even gonna see it. They're just gonna coming to you calling, and like that's why, like I said, if I'm in a field or like a roadway that I know the birds roosted right on the edge of it, I'm gonna use one. I killed birds over decoys last year. I killed a bird this year over decoys, and it's like they have their place, but more times than not. One, I don't want to be carrying it out there. I just want my gun in my hand.
Yep.
That's all I want. And then the second, it's just sometimes it just doesn't serve a purpose. They 1,000% have their place, but more times than not, I just find like you said, 1 out of every 10 hunts I use a decoy, or 1 out of every 8 hunts, or whatever it may be.
One thing I have found that's super effective is like say that I am roosting that night and I hear 2 or 3 different gobblers that are up in the same type of roost, right?
Yeah,
And then that there's definitely a dominant bird in there and he's got 2 buddies with him and now he's going to try and be dominant over the decoy, right? So then there
yeah,
is an aggressor there. I will run a decoy. If I go
right,
into a place and there's only one gobble, I'm definitely not bringing a decoy
right.
because now you're playing that 50-50 shot on him. And
He could have gotten his ass whooped. He might come in charging. You don't know.
you don't know. And on the like yourself, are you still filming all of your hunts and stuff, Steven?
Not. Actually just hold my camera set up,
Okay.
but I still film with buddies and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I've been on both ends of it with and without a camera.
And the thing with the camera is it makes for a really good show if it all comes
Right.
together. But
Right.
like sometimes, like I said,
It's a pain in the ass.
it
Yeah,
is. It
yeah.
is.
You can't move because the bird's to your hard left, and if you move that camera, you're gonna get busted. But it's kill the turkey or get it off or get it on film. There's a ton of times where you run into that situation, and or are you on him? Are you on him? And the bird's 20 yards right in front of you, and you're about to lose the bird, but the camera guy's about to get him. I've been on both ends of that too. I've been on the
Mhm.
gun and on the camera in that situation, and it's tough. Like you said, when it comes together, I think turkey footage is some of like the purest um stuff you can see as far as nature and in its presence, but it's so hard to capture that successfully unless you have a devoted camera guy. It's so hard to self film a
Mhm.
turkey. I've never even bothered trying to self film a turkey hunt just because the film wouldn't mean as much to me as the bird does,
Right. And that's one of the things with filming in general, any type of species is it's either you're indebted to the camera or you're indebted to killing. It's
That's
it's one
exactly
or the
it.
other.
Yep.
There's no in between. Like it's what you want to get out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Right.
it's definitely crazy.
uh,
One of the questions I want to ask you too, and we can
yeah.
break right into it, is kind of the scouting
Yeah.
aspect because now that you've kind of started to get to other states and hunting public and so on and so
Yep.
forth, like, what are you looking for when you're going to those other states and dropping pins or whatever the case may be to try and make yourself and put yourself in a successful position to to punch a tag?
So when I was down south, the biggest thing, like when I was in North Carolina, the biggest thing I learned was south facing. Believe it or not, because it's the first green up. It's where all the fresh growth is. So when I was or burns, when if you find if you find a burn that's smoking from the fishing game or fish and wildlife, whatever, doing a burn. If that burn is smoking, there's gonna be turkeys in it. They are scratching through that stuff just like a chicken would. It's they're all the same. They're all birds, and they're gonna they're scavengers. So south facing and burns were definitely the hot commodity down south. But when I go into like a state that has a lot of topography and terrain, like Maryland or New York, Maryland's like my grudge state. I got to go kill one down there just to do it, just to make myself feel a little better. But I always just try to look for like the highest point where I can hear in a lot of directions, and I'll look for like in Maine, I hunt a lot of clear cuts, like or select cuts, because there's always a lot of turkeys in those. I try to stay away from the field birds just for the sheer aspect of everybody seeing them. But I'll try if I see an area that's got a lot of terrain and I can see a big clear cut or a dairy farm or whatever. There's going to be birds somewhere in that block, so I'll just get high up in there and I'll listen and I'll just make my play from there. If I'm going in first morning, never been there, didn't have time to roost, that's my gameplay. But a lot of times if I'm in a state that has, some topography or even just a good road system, I'm just gonna boogie and just hoot and hoot and hoot and hoot. Or if I see a bird in a field or crossing a road or something, if I've made mistakes with that when I was younger. When I first started hunting Vermont, I would see turkeys, a half hour before fly up, and I'm gonna go find a different one. And it's like, what? Why did I leave that turkey? There was two longbeards in that field. I should have just stayed there and watched them fly up because I would have shot them in the morning or one of them. And so again, like Lanny Benoit says, the truck, doing that road work, it's the same. It's the same with turkeys. You gotta do that road work, and you can do it on foot too, but you're just not as effective. You're gonna cover 10 times more ground in a vehicle than you are on foot. Um, but I think a huge part of success with being a turkey hunter is doing your homework as well. A lot of people, there are people that can just, I've done it where we've had days where we've gone into pieces of woods we've never gone into before and we've filled all of our tags. And those are some of the most memorable hunts because it's so unexpected. It's so natural the way, it happens. But if I know if I know where I'm going, it makes it definitely a little easier. But those those unexpected hunts where all of a sudden you just roll up into a piece of woods and you're sitting there and a bird gobbles there and there and there and there's two of them over there and there's one over there and that one kind of sounds like a Jake, so we're not going to go after that one. But when you have 20 minutes from the time they start gobbling to the time they hit the ground, you're speed walking or jogging to try to get to that bird that's a mile away. And when you get those ones that come in, man, those are some of my favorite hunts. I've had that happen in Maine. I've had that happen in New York. I've had it happen in Massachusetts, and even New Hampshire too.
What do you think by far is your most memorable, like crazy fun hunt that you'll never forget?
This past year, so I was tagged out pretty much everywhere around here. I didn't have a tag left, and I was running my beagle on rabbits, and I was just running them not too far from my house, and I every time my beagle would bark, I could hear a bird gobble. And so I'm like, man, who's got a tag? Who's got a tag? So I call my brother-in-law. I'm like, you still got a turkey tag in New Hampshire? He's like, yeah, I still got both of them. I'm like, you want to go in the morning? I got a bird roosted. Like this thing it's in like it's in a a smaller wood lot. I'm like, this thing, it's got to be by himself. The way he was just every time my beagle would bark. So he's like, yeah, I'll go. So it was May 30th. It was our season only goes to the 31st. So I'm like, well, we'll get you. We'll try to get you your end of the season bird. We get in there. We set up underneath that bird. We use decoys in a blind that hunt because there was just no cover in between us and the bird. The bird was right on a brook, and it was just wide open, and the bird needed to see something. So that we set up. We got in there super early. Bird pitched down. And he was a little sketchy at first because there was a ground blind in the middle of the field and decoys. He didn't pitch down right at first light. He probably gave it a good 15, 20 minutes and thought it through pretty hard before he flew down. But he came right in. He shot that bird. And I was like, you still got a tag? I'm like, you want to keep going? He's like, sure. So we drive 2 miles up the road, 3 longbeards in someone's front yard, and there was a field we could hunt on the other side of the road. I was like, let's try to call them in. So I brought a fan with me just in case. I don't usually reap birds, but end of the season, he still got a tag. They actually outlawed reaping in New Hampshire as of this year. So I had the fan in my hand, and he's right on my left side with the gun. I yelp once, and all of a sudden these birds just come across the street. I didn't even have to show them a fan. They came right across the road, and here they come, here they come, here they come, and the jakes and the hens. I don't know why, rhyme, reason, still doesn't make sense to this day. But the toms just came charging across the road. They had hens with them, and they just came right across the road when I yelped. And I called those birds. There was like a roll in the field, and we were just laying on the roll, just keeping that as our buffer in between us. And those birds popped up at like 5 yards, and he shot one. I was like, oh, sweet. So he shot that, and it's like 6 o'clock in the morning. It's like 6:15. He killed 2 birds within an hour. So I'm like, man, I was like, the birds just want to do it today. I'm like, you got any interest in going to Maine? And I was already tagged out in Maine at this point, but I had the day. It was before my son was born. I was like, this has been an epic day. I was like, any interest in going to Maine? He's like, yeah, I'll go to Maine. I was like, you can get a 3-day license for like $50. So he buys the 3-day license, and the GPS said we were going to be there at like 10:45. I was like, start your license, because you can do a specific time to start your license. So you can roll over and do a following morning or whatever. So I'm like, started at 10:45, and I believe it was a Saturday. I'm almost 100% sure it was a Saturday. So he starts his license at 10:45. At 11:07, we had a Maine bird dead. we walked in this clear cut. I called once. There was one bird gobbled, and there was 2 hens. We could hear them cutting, and I just kept whatever they were firing at me. I was firing it right back at them. And the 2 hens came right up to like 5 yards, jumped up on a log that was next to us, and they were just doing that thing where they're batting their eyelashes and closing their eyelids and trying to depict us, but they couldn't, and they just kept walking up the hill. And all of a sudden, the gobble just keeps getting closer and closer. Those are his hens, and that bird came to 8 yards, and he shot him. So it's 11 o'clock the same morning. He's killed 3 birds in 2 different states. So we just got into the piece of woods. We just left the truck. I think we got there a couple minutes after his license started. It was, within 10 minutes of us being there. So I'm like, all right, let's go to the other end of this piece of woods, and we'll just call along our way there. So we get to the backside of this piece of woods, and we cut through there was a solar field they were installing. So we walked around that, and then we got out into this field, and I yelped once, and I'm like, huh, what are the odds of that? Now it's like 11 o'clock, it's like 11:30. It's that perfect time. It might've been like 11:45. And it's that time where, like you said, if one gobbles, he's going to die. So there was a barway in between the 2 fields, and we just got right in the barway. I'm like, they're going to walk this bar. 1,000% they're going to walk this barway. These 2 toms come, we're watching them the whole time from like 250 yards, come in, and they're just coming. And I'm watching this bird at like 20 yards. I'm like, shoot. He's like, I can't see him. I'm like, and we're shoulder to shoulder on a big oak tree. I'm like, shoot. And he's like, I can't see him. And all of a sudden, the other bird, the second bird that came in, pops up, and he shoots at that and misses. And I just like instantly face palmed, and that bird flew. And the other bird just ran like 10 yards and stopped, and he flattened it. So by I think it was like 12:05 or 12:06, he killed 4 birds in 2 states, and every single turkey we called to died. Like every group of turkeys we called to, one of them died out of it. It was probably it was like, man, it's noontime. He's like, any other states we can go to? I'm like, nope. But it was pretty memorable. It was a good day, and he's only shot maybe probably 10 turkeys in his life, 12 turkeys, and he killed 4 in one day. I mean, you can't get much better than that.
Neil Pendleton asked, how many states has Champa killed turkeys in?
Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, New York, West Virginia. I'm at 9 right now, but
40 to go.
Yeah. I'm hoping to knock PA and CT off this year, and then I'll probably put in for Jersey and Maryland or Delaware next year, and because that's all within
Those
6-8 hour drive.
Those are both draw states, right?
Yeah, Jersey, but Jersey has surplus tags, but I heard it's pretty rugged hunting down there. There's a lot of turkey hunters, but Delaware is a draw state. and then Maryland is over the counter. But those are those are like I said, I'm going to work my way out of New England every year.
Steve, you mentioned cuts a couple times.
Yep.
Is is that more food source you think, or nesting, or both?
I don't know. It just seems to be like where there's a cut, there's turkeys. I
Yeah.
don't. It could. It's probably a mix of both because when you get that, those 2-year-old cuts, there's a
Mhm.
lot. It's a high sem count area, and it probably does make for really good nesting for the hens. And I think it's just good visibility for the turkeys too, because in those denser, conifer and spruce woods, it's really hard for those turkeys to see, and it's easy for predation to happen in those woods. And when they can get into those cuts and they can see, it's like almost them being in a field. They can see a lot more than if they were in a spruce thicket or whatever it may be. They're very seldom have I gone into a cut and not struck a turkey or found turkey sign. A lot of times those roadways in those cuts, I mean, you'll just see strut marks and gobbler tracks up and down them. Dusting, where they dust themselves, you'll see dusting bowls everywhere, and it just they always seem to go hand in hand.
Neil Poundton wants to know, why did the turkey join a band?
Oh, I don't know.
We don't know either. I'm just-
There's gonna be some dad joke on the back end of that.
For sure.
What's that?
For sure.
Oh yeah, 100%. He doesn't even. I've tried. I've tried. The only time that kid was ever remotely interested in going turkey hunting was when everybody thought the world was ending when COVID happened, and he's like, I'd probably like to learn to do it in case I got to do it to survive or whatever. And I was like, all right, let's go. And then he just never wanted to
because it had
go.
drumsticks.
Ah, there it is.
Thanks, Neil, for the dad joke. We appreciate it, buddy.
The dad joke. That was pretty good. He definitely Googled that. 1,000% he Googled that.
It's funny because in the compliment, we don't have them overlaid right now, but in the
Yeah.
comments, like, Henry's going back at him. Henry says Neil doesn't need a decoy with his beak, and they're just going at it. So it was good. It was good stuff.
I love Henry. Henry's literally one of the most. He's the nicest person you'll ever meet in your life. He's
Oh,
salt of the earth, dude.
Bennett just jumped in. He says, "I didn't know Sasquatch spoke English, but
Yeah. Every time I do a podcast, dude, there's one in every crowd. They always comes in with the good jokes.
we
got now.
yeah, we have a handful of them." So,
Oh yeah, good.
well, Steve, I have one last question before we cut you off, man. You might have heard it, might not have, but we want to know what drives you outdoors.
It's just my burning passion, man. It's my happy place when I can just go into the woods and be, I don't want to say I'm a loner because I'm a very sociable person. I love being, interacting with people, meeting people. I live for stuff like that. That puts me in a different happy place. But when I'm hunting, I can decompress, I can relax. It brings back good pastimes for myself and from my younger self. And I just it makes my world go round. It's on my brain every day. I think of hunting, and I'm hoping that my son is a hunter. I'm never going to pressure him into it, but I hope I get to share the same passion with him, and it's what I live for. My wife is a trooper. She is, without her, she definitely helps support my passion. And if she has to not do something so I can go do something, she'll be the first to do it, which for it it can be selfish on my behalf, but she enjoys that. It makes me happy. But it's definitely it's my life. There's no doubt about it.
And we ask everybody this question. I mean, we're at almost 300 episodes, and we ask everybody the same question, and everybody, it all comes down to the same thing, but it's always a different answer, and it's just great to hear it. Like, honestly, like what burns you, man? What burns inside of you to make this all happen? It's incredible.
It's true, and I think most serious outdoorsmen, they all have that fire in them, but some just wear it on their sleeve better than others too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's some guys that focus more on home life and are some more silent killers and or just don't have social media and are silent killers, or there's some guys that put everything on social media to share with everybody, and sometimes I'm a mix of everything. There's sometimes if I'm proud of something, I'm gonna put it on social media because it's me sharing it with the world. And there's times where I shot turkeys and deer and I just don't even bother, and I enjoyed the moment, my family enjoyed the moment, and it made me happy.
And I think that's one of the things too, like with a lot of people, like everybody has their own way of doing it, man. Like somebody might be happy with shooting a spike buck, or somebody
Right.
might, you know what I'm saying, or shooting whatever, and it just makes them happy, and it's what they want to
Right.
do, and that's the great thing about it. And we say it all the time, like hunt your own hunt, man. Like whatever
You're
it
right.
is to you, dude. Like if you want to chase 180s and shoot one every 3 years, then so be it, man. That's your hunt.
Right.
That's what you want to make of it. But
If that's your prerogative, go for it. And dude, I am the. I love hunting and I love shooting deer and I love shooting turkeys. And some of my buddies, they're like, you have this 150 on camera or this 140 or this 160 or this 170 on camera, and you shot that 100-inch buck that came by. Yeah, I did. He made me giggle. He made me feel good. He made me happy. He made me excited. Yeah, you're damn right. I shot him. I am guilty of that through and through. And that's like you saying, hunting your own hunt is, if it makes me happy and if it's gonna give me a good memory and a good experience, I'm gonna do it.
yeah, and it's one thing that we try to like strive for, like, like be proud of what you're, don't ever say like, like, oh, it's not the biggest deer in the world, or it's not this, or it's not, like, who cares, man? Like, you
And
don't, who do you owe it to
you
anybody?
hit the nail on the head right there. I think there's with this world of social media and stuff like that, there's a lot of people, and I'm not trying to degrade anybody by any means, but there's a lot of people in this world now that hunt for the wrong reasons. They hunt
Hmm.
for that thumbs up button on Facebook. And like I said, I've posted stuff on Facebook because I was proud. It made me feel good. But if you took away social media, I would still hunt turkeys in the whole Northeast. I would still, shoot as many deer as I do. I wouldn't change a single thing about my life. Where there's some people that if that blue thumbs up button went away, there would be a lot less, hunters out there.
So it's one of those things that you see a ton, and like probably like yourself, Steven, you've been involved with different groups and all kinds of stuff like that, and you see these
Yep.
guys that come and go constantly, and
Right.
they get upset because they didn't get 250 views or 250 likes or whatever the
Yeah.
case may be, and that's not why we do this. Like that's
Right.
not, when we were in high school, skipping school to go kill gobblers, we didn't care if somebody knew on social media, man. We were shooting them in the face because that's what we
Right.
did,
Because
dude. And
that's what we love. Yeah.
there's three of our buddies.
No.
The only thumbs up we would get is from our three buddies that we text that we just shot a turkey, like
Exactly. Exactly. And like you said, hunt your hunt and do what makes you happy. And I really hope, I really wish that more people would do that and live in the moment,
Mhm.
and soak it up in its purest form.
And it's one of those things that, like, and listen, I'm 100% guilty of it. 110%, man. Like, when I had first gotten into filming and all this stuff, and you try and shoot big bucks and this, that, and the other thing, and you take away from your family and your friends of hunting with them and the camaraderie, and just one day I just happen to wake up and I'm like, what in the world am I doing? This is not who
Right.
I am, and you can't
Right.
you can't be that way, dude. And it's one thing, watching yourself through social media, like watching you, like, you don't care, man. You have the biggest smile on your face. You don't care if he's 80 inches or 200 inches, like,
You're right.
dude.
Whether it's 130 or 120-inch buck, or it's a basket rack 8 pointer, they all make they make me happy. And that's just I think that's part of developing as a hunter too. Like, I used to shoot everything that walked by. If it had dots on it, if it had spikes, if it had one antler, if it had broken antlers, I used to shoot everything. And probably the last 4 years, 5 years, I've started to slow down. I've become more selective with, what I shoot and what I deer hunt. And they, that stuff just doesn't excite me like it used to. It's more of like oh, I gotta drag that thing out of here now. It's not gonna fulfill my self joy. It's not gonna make me happy. Where if I shoot a 130, it's like, man, I worked my ass off all summer for that thing. Or, I scouted or I hunted this deer hard and this, it happened. Those are the moments I live for now versus younger. It was just shooting a deer. Now it's seeing your hard work pay off.
Yeah, I feel like you make a good point there because, like you said, growing up, we shot everything that walked.
Oh
We,
yeah.
we didn't pass. If I passed a deer, my dad would kick my ass. You know what I'm talking about? Shoot them all. He'd say, shoot them all. Shoot them all.
Right.
But because of that and growing up that way, it affords us the opportunity to be a little bit more selective now because we've been there. We've shot those deer, and I can let them walk. Like you said, they don't do anything for me now.
Right.
But now, not to knock anybody, it's not really their fault. But these kids coming up now, they didn't really experience that, and they're coming into this hunting industry that sets the standard where you only shoot mature bucks and big bucks, and like they're not getting their numbers up. They're not.
Not many people went through the school of hard knocks.
Right, but they skipped all that.
Right.
Now they're I couldn't imagine the growing pains they go. You like Trev says all the time, to learn how to kill deer, you got to kill deer.
Right.
You don't learn how to kill deer by passing deer.
Right.
So, but they're brainwashed into thinking they can only shoot mature bucks,
Right.
and they're passing all these opportunities to put blood on the ground.
And better themselves as hunters because even from post shot, even after you already kill a deer, you're going to learn stuff.
You don't know what to do.
Right, exactly.
And that's in all these big buck killers across the country where they have all them 130s, 140s, 150s, and all of us, we're in our early 30s, man. We're starting to get to that point where we're starting to get them 125s and biggers on the wall now. Like we're getting to that point, like all of us, we're in that stage where it's hardcore. Now it's time to put the big horns on the wall. But the thing is, I'll be honest with you, there's more 50 to 80 inch whitetails in the corner of my room, in my game room, than there is anything, bro. Like I killed all of them. Like
I got a basket of them. I literally have a basket that's just filled with small racks, and it's like there's a blanket on top of it, and I'm like, I still every single one of those deer. There's deer in there that I've forgot about, but when I pick up that blanket off that basket and I look in there, I'm like, man, that was a fun day. Or, man, that was a good time with somebody that's, I've hunted with people that have passed away and stuff like that. And, that person was there that day, and it just brings back a lot of good memories. And like you said, with people that just come out of the gate with expectations of shooting mature bucks, they didn't get to experience that stuff. And that's crucial as far as growing as a hunter as well.
Well, the other thing, too, is they don't have the woodsmanship. So, like, how many people, and Steve talks about this a lot, and so don't I, but, like, how many people do we know that are new into the industry or the sport, we'll call it, and they've never hunted without a trail camera, or they've never hunted, you know what I'm saying? So like they don't even know like how to go into the woods and hunt or
smartphone. There's a whole generation of people that have never been in a tree stand without a smartphone.
Right.
In their possession.
Right. It's true, man. If you took away trail cameras from, and I use them, so I'm not going to be a hypocrite.
Oh no, me too.
But I've killed deer without trail cameras.
Well, that's what we're saying, right?
And there's some people that just come into the game, and they're just chasing that next picture. And don't get me wrong, if I'm getting pictures of a deer, I'm going to go after it as well. But like you said, we've been to that time where you might have sat in a spot for 2 weeks or a week or a couple days, and finally a spike horn comes by and you're like, oh
hell yeah,
here we go.
And those are like, I look back on those days, man, I'm like, man, it was fun back then. It was a lot of fun, and there was just no and not that there's pressure by any means. And when I said pressure, I didn't mean to say that there's pressure to kill bigger, better deer, but it was simpler. It was, though every little experience in the woods excited me. Whether a bobcat came running by, or I saw a spike horn, or I saw, a doe and a fawn that was nursing, or whatever it may be. I remember all that stuff, and that stuff was, like you said, that's the stuff that makes you a better hunter and a better woodsman.
So
yeah, I was just talking to Oil Can about this at the Beard and Booze a couple weeks ago. When I was a kid just coming up hunting, we would have to put the Weather Channel on.
Yeah.
To come around, and we weren't checking the wind direction. We weren't checking barometric pressure or dew point. All we wanted to know is what the temperature was going to be in the morning.
And if it was going to rain.
And if it was going to be cold, we need to know if we were wearing one pair of socks or two pairs of socks.
Yeah.
I knew what tree stand I was going to, and I didn't care about anything else. And now it's like it's so complicated, and we just add so much bullshit. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Don't get me wrong. I love over analyzing and trying to figure out every little aspect of it, but goddamn has it changed.
And that's part of developing as a hunter too, because like you said, there's been times where you sat stands, I've sat stands where our wind was terrible and our wind was going right to where the deer were coming from, and that's the stuff you don't think about. But now it's like the pressure. I guess I was talking about earlier is, oh God, I have this buck in this area, and he's been there, the last 3 days in daylight, and it's a south wind, and we never get a south wind, and my wind's gonna be blowing into the bedding, and God, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna hunt this? I'm gonna have to try to come in from this way and not bump them out of bedding. Like you guys know, that's the pressure that I guess is what when you're trying to shoot a smarter, more mature animal. That's the pressure that you have to deal with. Is understanding you're putting yourself in a harder situation.
I guess that's one of the great things about turkey hunting. You don't have that pressure, bro.
No.
You drive down the road, yo, he's gobbling, he's in there, we on him. Like, it's over.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, we hunting.
Growing up as a kid, my buddy's uncle always said, if turkeys could smell, you'd never shoot them.
Mm-hmm. So true.
I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, there still would be their days, but I mean, look at them as elk. It would be very similar to hunting elk, because elk can smell, but they bugle. But they're a lot smarter than a turkey. Let's face it. And how many guys go out west and come back with a tag in their pocket?
Well,
Quite a few.
Look at Colorado. Colorado public land to kill a trophy public land elk in Colorado is like a 12% success rate.
Yeah, I believe it, man.
You know what I'm saying? If there was a 12% success rate on killing turkeys in another state, it'd be a whole different ballgame, buddy.
I'm out.
Or you're just gonna work that much harder, right? Like it's just.
Oh yeah, exactly. When you put a goal in front of you, and it depends on, like you said, how motivated you are and what your prerogative is. But if you're motivated, whenever I get to those tougher states like Arkansas and Louisiana or Nevada, where there's only 2,000 turkeys, that's going to make me even more persistent to try to, that my drive is going to be like, I'm killing one of those 2,000 turkeys in Nevada.
You might have to spend just a little bit more time there, but you're going to make it happen no matter what it is. Like, it doesn't matter. You're going there for one reason and one reason only, and that's to kill a turkey.
Yeah, kill a Rio out there. I think they're Rios. They might be Merriams. Either way.
Probably crosses, right?
Yeah, probably. That seems like half the western side of the country.
Well, man, Steve, we really appreciate you jumping on with us, talking turkeys and all the good stuff. We look forward to following along with what you got going on and all that.
Likewise, man.
Can you just tell everybody where they can find you on social media if they want to follow along with your 49 or whatever the case may be,
absolutely.
or have some questions for you?
Yeah, so I have Facebook, obviously. It's just my first and last name. And then I'm on Instagram, too, and it's New Hampshire. It's NH_beards_bucks_ducks. So New Hampshire beards, bucks, and ducks. But those are my two social media platforms. I try Instagram. I don't use as much, but I usually post my cooler stories and pictures up there. But I use Facebook quite a bit. So.
Fantastic, Steven. We really appreciate it, man. We look forward to seeing you at Huntstock. And
likewise, man.
For everybody else, thanks for taking the ride right here.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for taking the ride right here on the Outdoor Drive.